My last video was how to solve a problem that asks you to find an empirical formula. This is related to that. This is how to find the formula of a hydrate. So let's do an example. A sample of an unknown hydrate of manganese 2 chloride is heated to a constant mass. Data are recorded in the table below. Determine the formula of the hydrate. So the process here is actually going to be the same as the process that we use to find an empirical formula, but the data looks a little bit different. So let's look at some data here. So usually this is called a gravimetric analysis lab, and it's often done in a crucible, which is just a ceramic piece of glassware that can withstand a high amount of heat. So you would have data that looks like this. So I want to point out a couple of things. You have the mass of the crucible on its own. Often that's given first, but I put it at the bottom. You have a crucible with the initial sample. So the initial sample is going to be the hydrate. So it's going to have the usually ionic salt, and then it's going to have some number of waters that's surrounding it. Then you're going to heat it, and you're going to continually take the mass. And you're going to continue to take the mass and heat it, and then let it cool, take the mass and heat it until your mass stops changing, like we see here. This is actually, some students say that mass went up. Well, this is essentially the same measurement. When you're talking about something like this, you know, that last digit is going to be somewhat estimated anyway, even on a digital instrument. So let's walk through the steps. So the first thing you're going to do is determine the mass of the salt and the mass of the water, and you're going to use your data to do that. So to get the mass of manganese chloride, we're going to do the dry sample minus the crucible. So your initial starting sample, is not what you're going to be using. You're going to be using the mass after the fourth heating, because what you have here is only crucible and the sample. So dry sample minus crucible is going to be 38.86 minus 13.68, which is going to give us 25.18 grams of manganese chloride. Then to determine the water, we're going to use that initial sample here. So wet sample minus the dry sample, because wet minus dry equals water. So 53.26 grams minus 38.86, so 53.26 minus 38.86, and that's going to give you a mass of water, which is 14.4 grams. The steps from here are going to look very similar. So we're going to convert to moles, because we always convert to moles. So we're going to take the mass of manganese chloride, divide by the molar mass of manganese chloride, and get 0.2 moles there. And then the mass of water, divide by the molar mass of water, and get 0.8 moles there. And then, just like we did before, you're going to divide by the smallest. Now, when determining the formula of a hydrate, the salt should be the smallest amount of moles, or it should be equal to the water, because you can have a monohydrate, and so then you would determine the ratio. So 0.2 divided by 0.2 is 1, 0.8 divided by 0.2 is 4, and you get your final formula, MnCl2 times 4H2O.